Imagine massive ships, bulky and unwieldy, suddenly finding themselves in the eye of the storm. Today, you'll see the wildest footage of collisions that just doesn't make sense. This spectacle will leave you speechless, I promise. Let's dive into these incredible moments and see how minor mistakes turn into real disasters. A rare head-on collision occurred in the Welland Canal. Normally, ships pass each other side by side here, but this time, two bulk carriers, each weighing 22 million pounds, couldn't avoid a collision and crashed into each other with a loud bang. Later, the Transportation Commission found that the accident was caused by poor speed choices and a lack of communication between the captains. Captains of such massive ships know a thing or two about dramatic events. This accident, which took place in the Norwegian town of Levanger, will shock any yacht enthusiast. A cement freighter, leaving the port near the dock, crushed a total of 15 pleasure boats with its weight. 3 vessels sank after the impact. The others sustained serious damage. The cause of the incident was damage to the propeller, which made it difficult to control the vessel. Navigation errors led to a collision in the Suez Canal, causing significant damage. The vessels, flying German and Singaporean flags, each about 984 feet long, that's 300 meters, couldn't navigate the narrow waterway. Even though the collision happened slowly, no one was injured, but there was significant material damage. Dents formed on the hulls, and 4 containers fell into the water. 2 British Royal Navy warships had an unfortunate collision in the port of Bahrain in the Persian Gulf. As a result of the powerful impact, the mine countermeasure ship was seriously damaged. Its body, made of reinforced fiberglass, received a large hole. Stay tuned, and you'll learn about the most monstrous ship collisions of the last 100 years. The Russian small anti-submarine ship Kazanets collided with a foreign refrigerated vessel in the Baltic Sea under limited visibility. The ship sustained a hull breach above the waterline, as reported by a representative of the Baltic Fleet to the journalists on Wednesday. According to data from the Equisys system, the vessel Ice Rose is operated by the Swiss company Maestro Shipping SA and sails under the flag of the Marshall Islands. In February 2020, a collision occurred between 2 vessels in the port of Adelaide, South Australia. Around 4:38 a.m. local time, in the dark but with good visibility, the fishing vessel Sandroper, entering the port, collided with the bulk carrier Acolyte II, which was leaving the port. The incident occurred near the entrance to the port channel, shortly after the Acolyte II had exited it. The collision resulted in major structural damage to St. Groper and minor damage to Acolyte II. There were no injuries on the vessels. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau found that neither vessel was maintaining proper watch using all available means before the collision. So, either of the vessels was aware of the collision risk from the other ship until the very last moment, when it was already too late to prevent the accident. The crew of the Acolyte II didn't fully assess the situation on the water and the likelihood of a collision outside the port channel before leaving it. The captain of the Sandroper first saw the Acolyte II when it was still in the channel. So he didn't know that the bulk carrier had exited the channel and that their paths were crossing. After the incident, a transponder for the automatic identification system was installed on the Sandroper. The company Incoships, which operates the Acolyte II, conducted a navigation audit of the vessel and suggested a number of improvements in resource management on the bridge. 20. In December 2019, 2 cruise ships collided. The Glory hit another ship. One ship had 15,000 people, the other 4,500. The incident happened when the cruise ship Glory, owned by Carnival, bumped its bow into another ship from the same company. At the time of the collision, there were over 15,000 people on one of the ships, while the other vessel had more than 4,500 passengers and crew members. As a result of the collision, 1 person sustained minor injuries during the evacuation from the dining hall. Experts assessed the damage caused to both cruise ships. However, no issues affecting their buoyancy were found. According to the company's website, the Glory can accommodate up to 2,980 passengers and 1,150 crew members. The second ship is designed for about 3,000 people. On May 26, 2019, two Japanese cargo ships collided in the waters of the Pacific Ocean near the eastern coast of Japan, resulting in one of them sinking. The incident happened around 2 in the morning local time, approximately 7.5 miles from the city of Inubasaki in Chiba Prefecture. There were 5 crew members on board the sunken ship, and one of them managed to survive. 2 more sailors were found dead inside the hull of the ship. 2 crew members were declared missing. Later, divers were able to find the body of another sailor. Coast Guard officials were informed that there was thick night fog in the area at the time of the collision. In February 2010, 2 strategic nuclear submarines armed with ballistic missiles and nuclear warheads collided in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. These were NATO submarines, the British Vanguard and the French Triumphant. At the time of the accident, each submarine had 250 crew members on board and 16 intercontinental ballistic missiles. Both submarines were seriously damaged. The Brits had to tow their submarine to one of the Scottish ports, while the French sailors managed to make it back to Brest on their own. The only possible explanation for this accident is that when submarines dive underwater, they lose much of their ability to navigate in space and rely primarily on sound information. However, despite their millions of pounds of weight and large size, such submarines are capable of speeds of 30 knots or more, equivalent to 37 to 46 miles per hour. The crew members, known as acousticians, keep an eye on the surrounding environment, continuously monitoring the situation outside using headphones and screens. In the early 1990s, in the territorial waters of Russia, near Kildin Island in the Barents Sea, exercises were conducted by the Northern Fleet, closely watched by the American nuclear submarine Baton Rouge. The Americans were particularly focused on the Russian submarine Crab, which had become an important part of a new project to create a series of underwater submarines. The American ship was circling right around this submarine. At one point, the acousticians on the Baton Rouge lost the signal and stopped tracking the Crab's location, so they decided to start their ascent to periscope depth. The American ship was circling right around this submarine. At one point, the acousticians on the Baton Rouge lost the signal and stopped tracking the Crab's location, so they decided to start their ascent to periscope depth. However, it turned out that they were right above the Russian submarine, which had performed a similar maneuver. The Crab was designed to operate in harsh northern waters under thick layers of ice. Therefore, its sturdy titanium hull actually crushed the American submarine. The only salvation for the latter was the Crab's slow speed. So, its sturdy titanium hull basically crushed the American submarine. The only salvation for the latter was the Crab's slow speed. The Russian submarine was practically unscathed, while the American sub was completely put out of commission. In 1987, the Philippine ferry Dona Paz collided at full speed with the tanker Vector, which was carrying gasoline and other petroleum products. The disaster happened late at night when many passengers were already asleep. The investigation revealed that the tragedy was caused by the negligence of the crews of both vessels. It was found that the ships lacked the necessary navigation equipment. Official reports stated that there were 1,553 people on board the ferry, including 1,493 passengers and 60 crew members. But the actual number was much higher. Years later, a special commission investigating the disaster stated that there were 4,341 passengers on board the ferry. Only 24 people managed to survive. In 2018, monetary compensation was paid to the families of the victims. Another major accident involving submarines occurred in 1969 when the American nuclear submarine Gato collided with the Soviet Ka-19, which was conducting training exercises in the northern testing grounds. Before the collision, the Soviet submariners had no idea that an American submarine was nearby. The crew of the Soviet submarine was having breakfast when they felt a powerful impact on the hull of the sub, which was moving at a speed of 6 knots. As a result, the submarine started to dive quickly. The rescue of the vessel was only possible thanks to the quick and precise actions of Captain Lebedko, who ordered the turbines to be started and to move at full speed. Later on, significant dents were found on the hull of the submarine at the base, and it wasn't until many years later that it was revealed who was responsible for those damages. On November 25, 1917, in New York, about 5.5 million pounds of explosives were loaded onto the French ship Mont Blanc, intended for delivery to Bordeaux. The Canadian city of Halifax was a stopover on the route. As it was entering the harbor, the loaded ship collided with the Norwegian steamer Imo. A fire broke out instantly on the Mont Blanc. The crew managed to quickly abandon the ship. The burning ship caught the attention of the residents of Halifax, who started gathering on the waterfront. The explosive-laden ship exploded, killing about 2,000 people. About the same number are listed as missing. Thousands of locals were seriously injured. The entire area in the northern part of Halifax was devastated. 28. On May 29, 1914, the Canadian liner Empress of Ireland set sail from the port of Quebec to Liverpool. There were 1,057 passengers and 420 crew members on board, and thanks to the lessons learned from the Titanic disaster, there was enough lifeboat equipment to accommodate everyone on the ship. On the night of May 29th, as the ship was nearly past the mouth of the St. Lawrence River, the lights of an oncoming vessel appeared ahead. It was the Norwegian steamer Storstad, carrying coal to Montreal. Captain Henry Kendall of the Empress ordered to steer the wheel to the right to pass the Norwegian vessel on their port sides. Meanwhile, the fog began to thicken. Visibility dropped sharply, and the positions of both steamers were now determined solely by the sounds of their horns. Suddenly, the Storstad appeared out of the fog on the right side of the liner. Kendall immediately ordered to turn the wheel to the left and go full speed ahead, but it was already too late. The reinforced icebreaker bow of the Storstad pierced the hull of the Canadian steamer like it was opening a can of soup. Moreover, right after the collision, the Storstad went into reverse and broke free. Cold water rushed in through the open gash. The ship tilted to the right side, and the open portholes for ventilation were submerged. Most of the passengers and crew members on the lower decks died within the first few minutes after the collision. 17 minutes after the impact, the liner was completely submerged. Despite the crew's clear actions, they managed to launch only 6 lifeboats, 2 of which capsized from the wave caused by the explosion of the steam boilers. The fate of those who were left in the water was sealed. The water temperature in the bay barely reached 5 degrees Celsius. Some of the people who ended up in the water were picked up by lifeboats from the Storstad. However, when the mail packet boat Lady Evelyn arrived at the scene of the tragedy a quarter of an hour later, its crew was only able to rescue 7 survivors, including Captain Kendall. A total of 485 people were rescued. After the sinking of the Titanic, the Canadian passenger liner Empress of Ireland was fitted with the latest iceberg detection equipment. The ship was crossing the Atlantic, heading from England to Canada. The disaster struck the liner during its 96th voyage in 1914. In 1914, the Empress of Ireland collided with the Norwegian coal freighter Storstad. The ship sank in 14 minutes in the St. Lawrence Bay. Out of 1,477 people, 463 survived. During the investigation, the crews of the passenger liner and the freighter were accused of grossly violating navigation rules in foggy conditions. Collisions between ships often happen due to crew error, aside from pure chance and weather conditions. Many of them lead to massive disasters with huge losses. Hey friends, I want to make you an interesting offer. You have a unique opportunity to become part of our team. If you have video editing skills, you can voice over videos in Russian, English, and other languages. Or write interesting scripts. We'd be happy to work with you. Message our Telegram bot. The link is in the description, and that's all for today. Thanks for watching.